This podcast is supported by patrons big and small, but greatest of all is the triumvirate. Mario, Hedwig, and Matt. Their generosity keeps me in sandals and hats. Thank you all.
Hello, and welcome to the Probably Bad Podcast, a podcast which is definitely bad. I'm Pencil.
Paper. Today's Probably Bad RPG idea is scroll through the Not an Idea tag and use what you find in your next campaign.
So this idea is exciting because we can do it live.
Yeah, we're gonna do this idea in real time. So thank you, anonymous submitter.
Okay.
So the first thing I'm coming across that isn't just nowhere even close to an RPG thing is just a picture of what I've dubbed Slender Jesus. Which if you can't get to the picture right now, there's basically a church in the northeast of England that has I would guess from having seen it, about 8 foot tall, incredibly skinny crucifix hanging from the ceiling.
It is.
And it's terrifying.
I feel it would make a good big bad for your campaign, or a good warlock patron. Like
It's a warlock patron.
you get all the miracles, but like stretched out. Like you can raise someone from the dead, but now they've got slinky arms and that kind of thing.
See, I was thinking more of like a combination Slender Man and Jesus. Like, yes, I will cure your leprosy in exchange for your firstborn. Which I think is just Jesus as a witch. Which I'm still into as a
It
concept.
was also a good RPG idea. Also, I would like to point out that before Slender Jesus, there was a fuck ton of werehorses, which I feel also counts as a valid warlock.
I've heard of werehorses.
Yeah, I think it's come up once or twice. But yeah, which would also make a valid warlock patron. Your patron is just one. 12 werehorses in a trench coat pretending to be a deity.
Yeah, problem is a lot of the Not an Idea tag right now is werehorse based.
I mean, it's like, obviously I am, conceptually against werewolves on a deep and fundamental level, but I feel...
But also, this list of things that I have called my partner does feel like it could be an interesting party. Spud, Fuckface, Admiral Lunchtime, Simon, and Flinders Banana Pants III. Like that is a classic party.
Yeah, you've got Simon.
Simon is obviously a new player.
Flinders Banana Pants III, I feel, is a bard.
Definitely.
Spud is an orc, like an orc barbarian. And
Fuckface is probably a paladin because that's not actually their name. Everyone just gets really annoyed at their lawful good attitude.
And Admiral Lunchtime is like the quest giver NPC.
Do you have a look or a voice in mind for Admiral Lunchtime?
I've just been imagining, like, this might be like a niche reference to British frozen food, but like the frozen fish food Admiral whatever it is.
Birdseye.
Birdseye, yeah, just Admiral Birdseye. But like they've got like an Admiral's pie.
For those who aren't British, the best description I can give of Birdseye is you take Colonel Sanders, you make his beard a bit longer and put him in the British Navy. but in like Victorian times.
And give him fish.
Yes, the fish are important because he sells fish.
Yeah, so yeah, the fish admiral shows up and asks your party to go collect famous fish, I guess.
Some sort of merfolk quest.
Yeah. Yeah, going.
The merfolk are stealing all of the fish, and now he can't make his famous fish
And
fingers.
the twist of the campaign is that you join the merfolk in overthrowing capitalism.
And they erect a statue of Flinder's Banana Pants III in the middle of town.
Yeah. A sea statue in the middle of Sea Town. As we all know,
What makes a sea statue different? Because I've seen underwater statues, and they're mostly made of stone.
as we all know, mermaid society is identical to like human society, but they put sea as an adjective in front of everything they own.
They live in a society.
Hey, so that's podcast cancelled for like I believe the 5th time.
Can't cancel the podcast every time I do a bad pun.
Watch me. So, I've been going through the rest of the not idea tag, and most of it is like actual questions. Although I did find just welcome to the awful, which I love as just like you're a GM and people say that, okay, so what's the campaign? And you just slam your hand on the table, welcome to the awful, and refuse to elaborate.
I mean, that's basically what I do at the start of every session I run. Have you considered genetically modified GMs?
I haven't, but now I am. So like you're
A special gland that secretes dice.
ooh, you could
I horrified myself there. I'm
you
sorry.
can modify it so that like your teeth are dice. So when you need to roll, you just pluck one out and roll it. Like those
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining because you could have like D4s for canines and D6s for molars. I'm struggling to think what the other ones would be. But maybe the dice are just like all different body parts of dice. Like your eyeballs could be like a D20, to have maybe like a D8 for a nipple.
I mean, you know, how do you know I don't? You could have like those wings that like flying squirrels have, but it's just got the D&D SRD written on it.
Or just like tattooed on the skin.
Yeah. So it's like, so how many spells do clerics get at 5th level? They'll just shoot your wings out and like, there you go. Also, I think also going through the thing. Guess who I just stumbled onto again?
Is it D&Daniel?
Daniel. Everyone remember?
Who I don't think has actually come up on the podcast before.
This is D&Daniel's debut podcast appearance. But those of you, sorry.
Yeah, D&Daniel is basically what, a figure that goes around licking D&D players?
Yeah, if you want your D&D game to be official,
yeah,
like if you want it to be included in the final tally of D&D, you need to have D&Daniel lick your forehead to officially consecrate your game.
which does mean that all D&D games in 2020 are either invalid or illegal.
No, we put an update about D&Daniel can now draw a tongue on a photo of you with selfie in order to comply with social distancing protocols.
Well, that's good at least. I'm glad that we can still have valid
He might
games.
be a mysterious lick spirit, but at least he appreciates the importance of flattening the curve. I think I might have.
Nick wishes to inform us that in their head, D&Daniel looks like the Onceler, and that's just a bad idea of a different kind.
I was imagining the guy from 30 Rock, Leap Day George, or whatever his name was.
William.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so there you go. Admiral Lunchtime sends your characters to fight D&Daniel with the patronage of Slender Jesus. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
The party are all werehorses.
Yeah, so you are all werehorses, clip-clop bitch.
Which they can be if you subscribe to our Patreon to get access to our homebrew content. Just a little plug there.
If something about this RPG idea sounds appealing, then you can pay us money.
Or if you just feel like going to patreon.com/probablyrpgideas. So questions. We have those.
Yes. Our first question comes from Agent Matt6. Any tips and suggestions for a first-time DM?
Acknowledge that you're not going to know what you're doing and make sure your players know that as well.
Yeah, I think if I was going to give any advice for first-time DM, firstly, don't overplan, because your players are going to ruin your plans. What I generally do is have a basic idea for the main plot and maybe some more detailed things for a session, but working on the assumption I don't necessarily know where the next session is going to be. And the second thing is that having fun is more important than following the rules to the letter. Like, it's better to have a good story than to have, like, a 100% complete understanding of all of the rules. Especially if it's a game like D&D or World of Darkness or something where there are a lot of rules.
But also, like, it's not going to feel as cool in the moment as it will looking back on it, because you're going to be focusing more on actually making it happen. Like, I'm not saying it's not going to be fun. It should be fun. If it's not, then you need to think about that, because the DM needs to have fun as well.
That is also important.
But it's not the same as being a player in any way.
Yeah. But yeah.
And also make sure that you all get blessed by D&Daniel.
Yeah. It's also very important that you send a letter into D&Daniel at least 1 week before the game begins so that he can look it and send it back. Yeah, in terms of bad advice, I think just follow our blog. I feel like we've done a lot of the bad DM advice. Suplex your
I
players.
feel like this is why we're sort of creeping more towards giving good advice on here, is just like the bad advice all comes out like as we think of
this
it.
is the
There's a reason the queue goes into October.
Yeah, this is the Dr. Jekyll of Holy Bad RPG Ideas. Is this podcast?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so there you go. You got some actual good advice. Bet you didn't see that one coming, did you?
Goblin wants to know, do you prefer romance between PCs or PCs and NPCs?
I think in both these cases it depends a lot on who the PC and GM are. Like, if I was role-playing with, say, my mum, I would not want to do a romance between those two PCs, even if, like, the PCs in universe would be attracted to each other.
Yeah, I think it is very context dependent because I mean, I would feel weird having my PC flirt with another PC if I was in a campaign with my spouse.
Mm.
But if I was running a campaign they were in, I would be fine having an NPC flirt with them
Yeah, I think
with anyone because I think it's kind of as a DM you're less attached to the NPCs as you are to your own player
I think
characters, if that makes sense.
because obviously as a player character you are playing the same character continuously, maybe barring the occasional like one-off thing. But you're playing the same character for the entire campaign, whereas with a DM, like you're not. But yeah, I think I prefer between NPCs and PCs because it's harder for like the distinction between in-game flirting and out-of-game flirting to blur, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, which can get uncomfortable. And obviously, if you are gonna have characters flirt, make sure that you've cleared it with the other character's player or with the DM if it's an NPC.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Just make sure everyone's comfortable and consenting, even because it's pretend, but it's also, you wouldn't randomly stick porn on in front of someone. It's not real, but it's there, you know?
Like at the very least, if you're going for an actual like romantic relationship, definitely clear that with the other player first.
Yeah. And I mean, it might be that, the character isn't interested in that, but the player is fine with playing, like role playing that rejection. Like, it's complicated.
Like, yeah, the biggest campaign I've been in
Make sure people are okay.
did have like one of the PCs develop a crush on one of the other PCs, and that was all done like that became an important plot point thing. And
Is that the one I was running?
sorry,
Because I know that in a campaign I was running, your character and another character were like the big
yeah,
OTP of the campaign.
yeah. I mean, yeah, there was that one. No, this was another campaign. This was a Dragon Age campaign. That had a lot of romance in, but you can do it.
I mean, Dragon Age is just a romance simulator with fighting.
We were just capturing the spirit of Dragon Age. But yeah, I think all the big couples were GM. I don't want to say GM player because that sounds like a very different kind of RPG campaign.
They were NPC PC.
Yes. This was our harem GM game.
That's a probably bad RPG idea.
So there you go. To answer your question, run your game like a harem anime and date all your players.
Although I'm sure there are some polycules that have very fun D&D games.
I think I know one of those. Why are all of our ideas turning out good today?
I don't know.
Stab your GM. I don't know. We're really losing our spirit here.
I think my brain is maybe more functional than it has been for a long time because I will be finishing my dissertation this week. By the time this has gone out, I may have submitted my dissertation.
Good luck. You, the audience, can also issue good luck, but it will be obsolete.
It made me happy though.
Is
my happiness not valuable?
Not under capitalism.
That's true.
Our final question is from Archetypal Archivist. What's your favourite class to play badly? Are you deliberately play badly? Okay, Archiver Archivist who asks, what's your favourite class to deliberately play badly? Are you fond of the wizard who runs in immediately? The cleric who never heals anyone? The barbarian who thinks spells and ranged attacks are the only way to go? Your loving audience wishes to know.
My current character is a paladin who in their first fight managed to get in exactly 0 hits and do a single heal on themselves. So but it's been a fun character, so I guess Paladin?
Yeah. I mean, Paladin is a good one to play badly because it's such a specific archetype that it's really easy to just. Like, Asshole Paladin is very fun to play.
Bringing back Pete.
Oh, yeah, Pete the Pathetic Paladin.
Was so bad at being evil, he was granted good magic powers. And then fell and burned down a hospital.
Unsuccessfully, because apparently the other PCs tried to stop that for some reason. It was fun playing an evil character who's not allowed to lie. But yeah, I think my favourite class to play badly is Incredibly Blatant Rogue. I can disarm traps and open doors, but I have no desire whatsoever to be stealthy about it.
I'm also a fan of dumbass wizards.
Hmm.
Like not as in wizard who rushes in immediately, just wizard who has like 2 spells because they dropped out of wizard school.
I like wizard who puts all of their spell choices into like really useless magic, or at least really, really niche magic. Fear not, citizens, I've memorized Featherfall 13 times.
Yeah, just a wizard who is good at everything that isn't magic, just has like a really high dex or something.
I have to be that.
And I realize we're just creating Rincewind. Just a wizard who is bad at magic but is doing their best.
All RPG ideas ultimately lead to Discworld. I do really like.
That is
like
true.
the
That's why
idea
Discworld is my favorite.
of a sorcerer, because sorcerers are born with magic, who was born with magic but doesn't really give a shit about it, so just learn to fight people really good, and everyone assumes they're a fighter, but then every so often they just launch a fireball at you. And it's, oh yeah, I can do that, I just prefer to punch people.
I think I also like the idea of just like a druid who finds the whole concept of wild shape really gross.
Druid who refuse to use wild shape because they're not a furry.
Yes.
I'm adding that to the queue. But
Yeah, the thing is, I think what we've concluded from this is that the answer is probably Paladin, but also any class can be played shittily if you think hard enough about it.
remember, any idea can be a bad idea if you just try.
The idea can be a bad idea if you present it to us.
Yeah, I think that's all we have time for this week.
Or it's at least all of the questions I had prepared.
All we have this week.
If you have a question, because we do always need questions, you can email probablybadpodcast@gmail.com or message us on Tumblr at probablybadrpgideas. If you want to support us without using the Patreon that I mentioned earlier, Probably Bad RPG Ideas, you can rate or review us, and then other people will go, oh, that sounds good, and then we'll trick them into thinking we're a good podcast.
You too can help us deceive people into believing we know what the fuck we're doing.
Oh, we also have new merch on our Redbubble. You can now buy things with werehorses on them. That's Redbubble/people/probablybad to see the designs, one of which I've bought for myself because I'm terrible.
See, Mod Paper is doing their part to sponsor Mod Paper.
It's cyclical, but it works. And now I have a coffee cup. So yeah, thanks for listening, and remember to have a probably bad day.